Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Thursday 1 p.m. Eastern Time Bookmap with OM Trading Channel. I am, of course, Options Millionaire, Andrew. Before we get started here, we'll go over the disclosure. Material information presentation for educational entertainment purposes only. It should not be considered specific investment advice or recommendations. Any and all statements made on this channel are the sole opinions of Options Millionaire channel and should not be taken as financial advice. No financial decision should be made on the materials shown here on the channel. Trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss that is not suitable for all investors. Any investor could potentially lose all or more of the initial investment. Risk capital is money that can be lost without jeopardizing one's financial security or lifestyle. Only risk capital should be used for trading, and only those with sufficient risk capital should consider trading. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Trading is one of the riskiest, most difficult tasks one can undertake. It must be approached with extreme caution. Do not invest any money you can't afford to lose. Good stuff. Big girls and big boys. So what do we have here? Slightly red day. NASDAQ is down 1.65. ES is down 0.4. So ES is holding up a lot more than the NASDAQ. NASDAQ continues to drill lower and lower and lower. They're down from 15,895 to 15,680, which is about 300 points. That's only down from the morning level. In fact, they just drilled down a little lower right here to put in another low. All that to say what to expect. What do we have here? We've got the tech sectors very red. Apple is down to 194, and honestly, they're the ones holding up the best. Apple's barely even down. They're only down 0.3. Everything else is down 0.1, 0.2, or 1.1, 2%, 2.5%. Meta's down nearly 3%. Tesla's down, of course, 8% after the earnings sell-off there. A lot of crazy stuff. Liquidity has been posting lower and lower and lower today. Every time we try to pop up here, we posted lower. The main level on NASDAQ opening morning was 15.8. Under that, it was 15.7. Now it's 15.662 and rolling on down to 600. So you see the liquidity posting lower, posting lower, posting lower on this move down. So liquidity has been very obvious in the fact that the market wants to transact this thing a little bit lower today. We'll keep an eye on that. Right now, obviously, 15,700 is the main level we've been kind of tracking since the morning. We've already bounced off 15.7 a couple of times. On ES liquidity, they've got this guy up here, 15 or 45.90 in a very big manner, which is 13 points up. But if you look at the X sectors right over here, you see that a lot of the X sectors are showing strength. Mainly XLV, very strong, 1.92%. XLU, 1%. XLE, 1%, nearly. So obviously this is a very rotational day. A lot of rotation out of tech and into defense and industries that are other than tech. So we'll keep an eye on that. But that is showing you why the S&P is so relatively strong compared to the NASDAQ. ES is still holding lows of the day. NASDAQ has put in a new low of the day to 15.68 before bouncing up to about 15.7. If you're looking for a heavy move on NASDAQ, in addition to this, you need to focus on Apple at the moment. Apple is still holding on. If they put in another low and take out their pre-market lows, which they have not yet, they're the only tech name that has not put in pre-market lows yet, or popped the pre-market lows. If they were to do that, that's when we're going to start looking for a lot of weakness in the tech sector, and then maybe even the S&P as well. I've also been tracking the options flow in addition to the order flow here on Bookmap. At roughly 10 o'clock, things started to shift quite bearish in the tech, and to the terms of put flow started to come off egregiously. So, yeah. Interesting at, let's see, 15 minutes ago, I'll tell you this, 15 minutes ago, there was a large spike in call buying on NVIDIA. And this is short-dated flow, by the way, so only apply it as needed, but it's only short-dated options flow right now. So call buying spiked aggressively 15 minutes ago on NVIDIA. Let's see how that plays out on their stock price. Right now, 45.77 on ES. This is a very interesting tidbit, 45.90. There's about 1,100 orders sitting up here. That is nothing to shake a stick at. I mean, that right there is, we need to keep a close eye on that because, one, that meets the criteria of egregious, 1,100 orders plus. Two, it meets the criteria of managed liquidity, which they've shifted this baby up to 45.90. So I want to take a look at that. That's a 13-point move on NASDAQ. That would bring us back to roughly the high of the day. 45.94 is the high of the day, so right up in that ballpark to look out for. Netflix might be starting a recovery. Let me take a look. Netflix, they have gapped down considerably to 435. They're starting to put a little bit of green in off of their 432 level, which was also their pre-market bounce, so they're defending pre-market levels right now. ES is starting to put on a touch of green. NASDAQ, small touch of green. But they have this guy down here. So a little bit of a dichotomy between tech and ES at the moment. We have higher highs on ES up to 45.90, or higher liquidity, I'm sorry, to 45.90. And the NASDAQ has got lower liquidity to 15.665. So a little pushing and pulling on both sides of the coin there. Makes some interesting price action. We're smack dab in between significant levels. You see, we keep pinging off of R1. We almost got to S2, but the significant stuff is R2 and S4, which we haven't had the gumption yet to come up or down on the S&P right now to get to either one of those. What do you think is going to happen in NVIDIA stock price? Today or in general? I don't know, obviously, what the future is going to hold. I mean, it's obviously an incredible rally, intertwined with a good amount of selling. I do know that the fall of NVIDIA will lead to the fall of the indexes. I don't really want to get in the habit of calling the top on that. I don't know when that's going to happen. I mean, this thing could obviously put in moves up to 500, but the fall of NVIDIA will bring about the fall of the indexes. So, we'll play it by ear here. Today, they are showing some basing, and like I said, the call flow just started spiking 15 minutes ago. So far, that's been a pretty good indication to watch where this thing is going to go in terms of like other names as well. Tech is feeling like a blow-off toppy short term. That Apple move yesterday, almost 200, was crazy. Opex. Well, there was a lot of people that were looking for Apple to be the last one because Apple wasn't quite as squeezy as the other names. Apple was definitely bullish, but NVIDIA had a blow-off, Microsoft had a blow-off, and Apple wasn't quite to there yet. And yesterday very well could have been it. And once it happened, there's some people think that could be the sign of a temporary retracement once Apple finally has that blow-off, and yesterday happened, which was crazy. We were talking about that yesterday. But, I kind of see your point, is that Apple finally had that big move up there. I'd love to see it tap 200. Didn't quite get there. Got to 196 before a little bit of red, but they're still holding their own. Apple's still not really selling off here. They're only down 0.4% after a little bit of a pop up there. So we'll see how that one plays out too. NASDAQ is still holding on at 15.7 barely, and the ES is putting a touch low. You see this liquidity shift lower to 15.680. ES has a little bit of round over here, but this 45.90 liquidity up top. We do have Opex tomorrow. We have a bunch of dealer OI positioned lower in the SPY in the 440 range, which is obviously 13 points down. That's a huge move, but we do have a ton of OI rolling off the books down in there tomorrow on July 21st. Extremely large GEX expiring, rolling off, so when that happens is when I'm looking for volatility spike into next week. Alrighty. 45.70. A couple of trades today. I've taken one good put. I took a SPX put earlier this morning for a great trade. A couple of NASDAQ scalps here and there, but overall, I played the morning volatility, sat out this afternoon stuff here. We'll see if we can pick back off. Obviously, NASDAQ's volatility has picked back up as of 12:15 Eastern, which is going on about an hour now. In the big scheme of things, if you look at the daily chart, the top wick yesterday with the influx of volume, and then today, of course, we are continuing downwards, at least especially on the NASDAQ, is showing us that The sellers are stepping in a temporary manner. And this is what we need to see if we want to have continuation for a retracement, is that on the third candle, which is today, I need to see the sellers continue their momentum. Without that, it's a failed pattern, and I won't be looking for that. Now, if you're talking about volume profile as well, if you zoom out to the longer volume profiles, we've got a node on the NASDAQ down to 15.3, which does need to be filled. So we have another imbalance on the macro scale down to about 15.3, 15.280. And if this were to break down below these levels right here, over the next few days into next week, that's where the imbalance on NASDAQ will fill, about 15.3. Now that'll transition through the low volume node on the volume profile down to the next leg. And all that is level to level. We're just trading high participation level to high participation level, HVN to HVN. So far, if this were to play out, this is the largest single red candle on the NASDAQ, unless it bottom wicks, since June 23rd. Which will show some weakness. Embrace the chaos. That's right, Evan. ES still does not want to come off the 45.80. NASDAQ still holding 15.7. Let me flip over and take a look at another oil. Oil is still holding 75.76, but a big, strong V recovery this morning. Still can't get down below 45.75. And I'm watching closely. There, so you see they shifted liquidity a little bit to 70. They've got a little bit down here at 50, aside from this 45.90 guy. I'm just watching this flow here. CVD is still quite red. It was a little bit more. It was a little deeper red earlier, but it's still decently red here, 7,400 negative. All right. Netflix down as much as it is today. Puts to see if it was July 13th. Yeah, July 11th. Yeah. It's crazy to see them down a lot. I mean, even Tesla's down 8.7. Did not like their earnings report whatsoever. So they hit just under 300. They got to 299. What? 299.38, 299.35, and rejected on down. There's a lot of people hoping for a 300 tap. And they're down to 265 already, so they've already sold off 35 points in 2 sessions. Session and a half. Netflix is getting pummeled. Indexes right now are not really moving. NASDAQ definitely looking heavier. What do I think of AMD in general? Very squeezy. They've got moments where that thing moves big time. In terms of their chart, they've had a lot of signs of accumulation, and now they're moving back up into the the 124 range. Today they brought it down a little bit more, but they do show some signs of little profit taking. There's the reason why I haven't jumped on that chart over the past couple of weeks, more so than others, is because in June they started to show signs of heavy selling. And after popping so far up from 55 into 130, we're talking about over 100% increase in stock price. When I see that much selling into it a resistance, it's not something I really want to jump on for a long, at least. In my opinion, there are a lot better charts to long in it just yet. Elon pretty much quoted Warren Buffett on the call, buy low, sell high. Oh, geez. Trying to be very patient with NASDAQ here. I think that's going to be the big mover into the bell. We don't have any catalyst tomorrow other than Opex. So the big July 21st expiration is tomorrow, and we see a significant amount of dealer OI and exposure rolling off the books. And so that will be a bit of a mover. If we were pinned to the largest expiration, I would be very careful to look for a mover, and we'll have a big pin risk. But we are so far extended above the call OI that we could be looking for a retracement back down to it, a little bit of volatility, if anything. That's what I'll be looking for. What could be a very decent play tomorrow is morning or most of the day weakness followed by a strong V recovery into the afternoon bell to close out positions. Of course, the past couple of Fridays, we've been having a lot of crazy moves into Friday as well, so we need to be ready for that. Tesla looks like, or Nasdaq looks like wants to grab the 680. Man, this big old red blob up here on ES, 45.75. A little bit more tick down here, 45.75. All right, flow, what are we looking at? All right, interesting setup. We don't usually get this type of liquidity movement very often. Such a big decoupling between the two, where we have a pull action to the south on Nasdaq and a push action on ES to the 45.90. So likely outcome, maybe grab this 45.70 bounce and then grab this 45.90 into the bell. Keep an eye on XLF and V. XLV is rocketing to 135 and holding. There's zero weakness right now in the financials and in the healthcare section. Utilities are up there as well. They're a very small part, but still a part, and they're up there as well. A lot of strength. XLI showed a little retracement. XLU is showing a little bit of top wick there. I'm sorry, RE, XLU is still holding up top. XLE is coming off just a touch, but man, V and F, healthcare and financials are just rocketed. That's why the S&P is holding up to 45.76. The second I could see some shifting liquidity here and change in the flow, it'll be a good indication of what to do here. NVIDIA, what are they doing? Still holding. Amazon's down. Microsoft is down. Apple is still holding 194. If Apple can retrace to 193.3 next pivot and the bottom of the volume profile, that would bring a shift lower in the equity in the indexes here. So what's up, Steven? How you doing? Yeah, this is the Thursday 1 p.m. So Thursday 1 p.m. We do it every Thursday with Bookmap. $45.78.50. Nasdaq is holding 15.7. Nothing's really moving right now. I'm watching all the tech. They're all pinned to their lower levels, respectively, 348. Amazon's pin, Apple's pin, all just chopping in a consolidation zone. The only thing that's really holding a trend right now is bonds. So TLT is trickling down here, 101.3 and trending down. A dollar trying to make a comeback. DXY. $4.48. You bought it for 2 cents. Nice. Nothing really actionable right now. Just a lot of consolidation. It's not something I want to jump in on to trade just yet. A lot of cross currents. I've already got my morning trades on. Right now, I'm just waiting for some sort of major confirmation. But right now, nothing actionable. Nothing actionable. It's all about waiting for confirmation. The afternoon volatility should kick up, but nothing yet. There's still 2 cents? Yeah. That's all right. All right, finally break there. We have some red 15,680. You see the 15-minute charts here shows a little influx of volume coming in. We had a hammer at 12:30 on the Nasdaq. That failed and went lower. We just put another low in. And next target here is going to be about 15,670 before we start moving down until you fill in the imbalance back from last Thursday. We've already filled the imbalance from Tuesday, which worked out beautifully. In fact, we've been hanging out there for a while. Next on deck is going to be coming on down to fill the imbalance from last week. XLF is 35.30. TLT is bouncing up here. Still nothing really. Let me flip over to oil real quick, see what they got on. They're not really actionable as well. It took off 75.90. Well, that's the old contract. I have to load the new contracts. See 12:14, 15 minutes ago, put buying Microsoft. Flow is turning a bit negative on a couple of names, mainly Apple. Apple's flow is turning a bit negative there. Bringing some liquidity a little bit lower. Well, apologize for it being so slow right now. Just kind of trickling. I want to make sure I get a good high confidence entry in here. For the rest of the day, I'll be popping into futures. I won't be touching any kind of short dated options for this. It's a little too slow. So, do I replace any trades on the stream? I do. This one, the Bookmap stream, I don't usually place too many trades on this one just because it's in the afternoon. I typically don't do a lot of trading in the afternoon, just more of analysis. But I do place them on the on our streams that we do in the morning time of the server. Especially right now, there's not really too much actionable here. Once I get a good confirmation, I would love to long some S&P up to 45.90 here to wipe this out, but I need a good 15-minute VPA signal. We're starting to get a little bottom wick right here, which is also back in the 45.70 areas, but I need a high volume spike, which is tough to get in the post 1 p.m. sector. If I can get a good high volume spike here to give some base, I would look up to 45.90, which would be a good, 10, 12 points, nothing crazy. There's nothing crazy going on in the S&P today anyway, but that's what I'll be looking for. The big trade I'm looking for into next week, though, is going to be longing some volatility. I think that'll be the play going into FOMC. Everyone's expecting a rate hike, 25 basis points on FOMC. The Fed funds rate's already priced that in, with the VIX being held into the 1380, with the GEX rolling off tomorrow, and then with the expiration we had on Wednesday. I think we're going to see a good pop in volatility going into here as the dealers reposition themselves for those events. Not to mention we've got Google on Tuesday. When's Apple? Apple's on Thursday the 3rd, so not as short as that. We have Amazon coming up on the 27th Thursday. We have Nvidia. That's not until August. We have Meta, so that's the other one on July 26th. So kicking off on Tuesday, we have all of that ER from tech coming in there, which will be market movers. And I think with that, you'll have option chain positioning, which will inflate volatility. And I want to take advantage of it. So there's that first move up there on ES. Nice hammer on the 15-minute, 45.80. Apple just bounced. Watch Nvidia. Their call flow is starting to return a little positive there. That was a nice candle off that S1 right there. Just kind of pinned to it. You see, even giving back, all we've done is shifted down deviation here. We consolidated between these two levels yesterday. The POC is right up here as well. And all we do is shift down and hold this range. But even as the rotation here is so strong that even as bad as tech is right now, the S&P is barely even down. It's almost a flat day here. And that's how strong everything else is. This is where it gets a little difficult to trade the S&P when this happens, because S&P is made up of such a large amount of indexes, or a large amount of names, I should say, and that is because it's supposed to be resilient. That's the whole purpose of an index such as the S&P. It's supposed to be resilient. So when other things are down, the other things are supposed to support it. That's the nature of the S&P, and it keeps it pretty flat. Sometimes that makes it difficult. Now, when all those things are together, which we've been seeing a lot of for the past year and a half, it makes it a little bit easier to trade because things go directional. But especially on a day like today where volume comes out, where we have some consolidation, it just makes it a little bit difficult. Have I seen the DXY in yields? I have. So DXY is going nuts. The dollar's coming all back up hard. The 2-year is trying to make its way back up over 5% again. It can't hold over 5%, but this retracement off 5% was a much weaker retracement off of the prior 2% spike, which happened back in March. Because if you remember, last time we hit 2% on the twos, or 5% on the twos, egregious sell-off. And I use the term sell-off lightly. I know. But here we only went down to like 4.7, and now we're trudging our way back up into the fives again. So obviously the financials are not, the forward-looking financials, I should say, are showing just the higher interest rates here. We're showing the bonds still holding 101, a little bit of movement coming on down there, and then the dollar is bouncing off that sub 100 area. Now that was a crucial area for the DXY to bounce. I want to put on a good long. I'd love to long some US, but that was a crucial area for them to bounce. JJ Barkay LOY 1216, number 21st large holding and SPY. Nice. A little bit of green, 15708. Starting to pop up here. We'll see if we can make a move. We've got a little bit of green here. Maybe grab this little liquidity up top here, 15720. But perhaps the 10-year has new support now. It'll be interesting to watch, that's for sure. A lot of weird action in the yields the past couple of weeks anyway, and the bonds as well. I think the bonds are going to present an opportunity that will give an awesome long going into the next 24 months. Yeah, healthcare is doing very well today. J&J. XLV is up nearly 2%, holding 135. Holding S1. Nasdaq's coming back off. Still holding. The only thing I'm really trying to look for is shifts in major liquidity. Right now it's pretty light on the Nasdaq. They've got this guy down here, but that's it. And then of course ES has this 45.90 up here. Do I use pre-market high and low as a level? Yes. So I have 6 levels that I plot. The previous session high-low, the overnight high-low, and the current session, or the current morning high-low. And those are all on ES. And that's going to allow me to identify the major pivots in the short-dated sessions on the S&P, where the algorithms want to pivot the market. Work out pretty well. On a trend day, they're not so helpful unless we get a slight pullback. But if you can help identify the early parts of a consolidation and even a break into the trend, they can help you. All right. So all I'm really doing here is monitoring the names that make up the S&P. I'm monitoring the big names here. And then when I come over here and I do my cross check on the price action and the volume, then I'm going to track the order flow, and then I'm going to track the options flow. And if I can have any kind of sign of a big move, I'm not really worried about a 3-4 point scalp on any of this. I want to find a big move across the board here. And if I could find that, I'll jump into something to make a little money in the afternoon. But if I don't see that, then I'm just hands off. I know that the afternoon is not set up for consistent, profitable trading. So I treat it very, very carefully. Big drop here across the board. NASDAQ dropped about 10 points or so. I say big drop, a little bit of drop. $45.77. NASDAQ coming back off. ES still holding. Do you think there's a chance we close below 15,500? I mean, that would be a stretch. Let me see where that puts us on the daily, on the next pivot. 15.5. 15.5. I'll tell you this. If we can close a 15-minute under 660, greatly increases the chances of a waterfall into close, because that'll wipe out the prior pivot, and that'll start bringing down the imbalance. We have a major imbalance down to about 15,100 on the macro scale. So we have to close under that first. Man, big drop on NASDAQ, just liquidated right on down. It looks like it's going to go for the 665. Alrighty. Big thing today is they move the VIX green to red. So another crushed move of pulling the volatility back down. Now it is back to green, but they crushed it big time. They went from 14 and change to 13 and a half. We'll see how they close it. You see them doubling down this liquidity here at 665. Still holding the 690 range, but very, very weak. Watching the other names, they're still just chopping sideways. Oh, man. Apologize for this being so boring. Indexes are just not really moving here. Not really moving. If NASDAQ does not hold this green candle, it's going down to 665, and I'll look for a short down to it. But I'm watching this volume here. 15-minute chart here just failed that hammer. So if you looked at the candle on the 15-minute for NASDAQ at 115, we had a strong hammer with a slight uptick in volume. Not crazy, but slight uptick. Now it's in the process of failing, which is rather bearish. When you have that kind of hammer fail, we need it to close outside. Once that happens, it's a great short down to 660, 665. Right. 55, 45, 70, 45, 90. Apple's kind of rounding over here. What's Nvidia doing? Just watching the underlyings. Everything is still holding down. Google is holding 120 very delicately. Not really moving at all. That is, it's down 1.7%. All right. 45.77. Nothing. 15.696. So tech is making its way back up here. Tomorrow should be a very interesting day, though, with Opex, with dealer OI way outside the money here. It'll be interesting. So. $15,701. Unsubscribe. There we go. 45.80. Microsoft, Amazon, Apple still holding the bottom, but so Tesla lotto calls were fun. Yeah. That's why they're lottos, baby. That's why they're lottos. It's a coin toss. So the 15-minute chart, which is where I'm hanging out here, when the price action is this boring and tight, I don't want to sit here on the 5-minute because the 5-minute is gonna skew a potential move. I'd rather sit on the 15 and let the 15 really start to take shape. Google AI announcement. Well, nothing's moving yet. A little bit of green buy up here. What is that? 720 liquidity on Nasdaq here. But 45.90. Let's watch the flow. Nothing. What was the Google AI announcement? I don't see it here yet. Still nothing. Very boring. Do I ever trade IWM? I don't. Oh, look at that right there, 684. I don't typically trade IWM. I do monitor it for any kind of rotation, but I don't trade it. I have a 176 put that expires next week. Looking to roll next month about the 184. Nice. I use it as a monitoring tool in and of itself for rotation, but I don't trade it. A lot of liquidity coming on Bookmap here. It's to 690, 685, 15.6. So this is the shift I was looking for any kind of liquidity. They had a little bit at 720. See, they just took it off, rotated down 687, 684, and then 662. Oh man. So about 10 minutes left in the stream here. I know it's a little dull, but that's the S&P. With this entire hour we've been on, it's been just flat. So if you have any other questions, I'll be happy to talk things out. Amazon's still holding 131. Microsoft is down. Apple is down. Meta's down. Tesla down. Fox Business was talking about Google testing out a new AI tool. Did I take any trades today? I did. This morning I took some NASDAQ shorts, and then I took a SPX put. So it's been a pretty decent day today. But I haven't taken anything this afternoon. It's been just not actionable. Flat. Niente. Google test out AI product that can produce news content. Nice. A little bit of green, 15,710 or so. NASDAQ trying to make a little move. Tap, a little tap right there. Didn't quite get to that liquidity at 720. Quick drop back off. So still rotating liquidity lower. Try to make a move back up to this liquidity. Immediately hammered. Boom, look at that. Hammered. We got 15, what is that? 15,685, 662 down there. Nice. XLF is starting to come off here as well, but that is just choppy overall. Just choppy overall. EOS liquidity said 45.89, 45.90. Yeah, there's a ton of liquidity right up here, but right now the market is just pin flat. Very, very boring the past hour and a half. Nature of the beast sometimes, though. 44.7. We've got, you see this guy here, what is that? 8684, come on. They took this guy off, so they made a run on yet another failed attempt to wipe out 720. Failed back down 20, 30 points here, and they took off the liquidity and shifted it lower, did not transact. They shifted, well, they took that off in general, and then this guy stacked 684. Sure, you'll get it near the close. Yeah, probably. All right, well, coming up on the top of the hour here, which will finish off the stream. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot them out. If you forgot anything, then you're welcome to head over to the server and throw them in the channels. I can answer them as best as I can. Right now, the market is just dead flat, not moving. You're welcome, Steven. You're welcome. 692. So watch this liquidity at 684, which is only about a 10-point move down here. See if they can wipe that thing out. Very, very slow movement. Ooh, big old storm coming in. See, this looks like it's going to transact. See all they're chasing this bid down here? They took this guy off. You see them shifting these bids? Down, 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 down. And they're stacking this guy on here. I'd say we're about to wipe out this 682 area. 685, 682. It's very sustained pressure. Very weak though. There's no volume. That's the risk. Morning session trade, nice. Yeah, you got that trade this morning? Very cool. That was a great session this morning for sure. A little bit more pressure. They took it off liquidity. 692. When the afternoon volume kicks in here in about a minute and a half or so, where are we going to go? That's where you need to decide. If you want to place a trade, where are we going to go? No movement. So watch the volume hit here at the top of the hour. Watch. See if it brings us lower. They're building into it. I can already see this candle shaking and baking. What about 3 seconds here? There's the pressure. 686. So the top of the hour brought us lower. There it is. There it is. Bam. Lower. Cool. So isn't that cool how watching that? All right, that's the top of the hour there. Hope you learned a little something even at the last end. Always know your times. Times will help you. So sorry it was so boring most of the time. I know it was a little flat, but that's the nature of the beast sometimes. I'll see you next time. Joining next Thursday, 1 p.m. Bookmap, and of course we do the live streams every morning from market open till about 11 o'clock on the streams. So catch y'all next time. I'm out. See you.